Hey everybody, welcome back. In this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through Google Flow from start to end. I'm going to show you the best prompts, all of the features and functionalities of the program, and how you can start creating AI out of your own content pretty much right out of the gate. So let's get started. So if we come to Google Flow, which is at Google Labs, you can come here, you see the main page. They just updated this now so that you can start with 100 free credits, which is great. So if you want to start creating for free just to try it out, you can do that. I will say 100 credits is really nothing. One VO3 model credit is 100, so you pretty much only get one generation of iterations to choose from. However, if you go in and choose their plan, I would go with the Pro plan for $35 a month, and you can then tack on another 12,000 credits if you want to, or 12,500 credits. And that's going to give you the most bang for your buck and really allow you to explore what Flow has to offer. And I will say that you're going to run through probably about 5,000 to 10,000 credits pretty quickly if you're working on a project or if you're doing a lot of iterations. If you do end up going with the Ultra mode, though, or the Ultra plan for Google Flow, you'll end up getting VO3 fast for free the entire time when you do text to prompt, or you'll do iterations and frames a generation with only 10 credits, which is fantastic. So you basically get a 10-to-1 ratio if you choose the Ultra plan, which for $250 isn't bad, but I'll be honest with you, it's way too much money. I would say keep it under $50 and you'll be fine. But only get the $250 plan if you want the free use of YouTube, where you get YouTube Red. You get 30 terabytes of space for Google and a couple other little features. But really, I don't think it's worth it to get the $250 version. So anyway, let's jump into Flow and see how we get started. So if you're new to Flow, it's pretty easy. You'll just come to the main screen. You'll say Create with Flow. And that's going to bring us to our product page, where it'll show basically everything we've already created and the projects that we're working on. We're going to go here and do New Project. And this is the basic layout for Google Flow. Now, if you ever want to check to see how many credits you have, you can go to the top right-hand corner. You can click it, and it's going to tell you exactly how many credits you have. Now, I've got the Ultra plan, so I came off with 25,000 credits, and we really just started this month. So I've got a lot of credits that I can do a lot with, but that just shows you how much you can work with while you're prompting your videos. Down here, this is going to be our main tool area to work in. This is the prompting box, and you get three options to choose from. You've got text to video, you've got frames to video, and you've got ingredients to video. And each three of these does pretty much a wildly different outcome, or has a wildly different outcome, I should say. If we do text to video, which text to video, quite frankly, in my opinion, is unethical because it is using everyone's work that's out there. It did pull from a bunch of different libraries and stock sites. So you could be infringing upon people's rights if you do the text to video. It's fun to play around with, and I'll say that you can come up with some interesting ideas, but I would say use text to video only for doing storyboarding ideas, but nothing for real like commercial grade work where you're going to be putting stuff out there, because you could be subject to copyright violations. That being said, it's still the Wild West of AI. No one's really being sued yet for any of this content because it's hard to tell where this information comes from. So that's something you have to be careful of. But text to video is where you basically just type what you want, and Google Flow is going to come up with its own idea of what that is and rendition of it and output it to you. Next is frames to video, and frames to video gives you a start and an end. So if you have two frames, let's say you've got a person, you want to start in one location and then they end up, over by a car in another location. Well, you put the first frame you want there and then the end frame. And then what Google Flow is going to do is it's going to generate information between there so that it links the first frame to the last frame. And that's pretty fun. And you can choose that down here if you want to. So you would click here, and then you would choose from your library. So we could say we start with this shot here where she's laying, and then we would cut to the shot where she has fins. And I'll show you how that works in a second. And then you can also come over here, and this is only under frames to video, is you click this little icon here, and it gives you the option to add what kind of camera movement that you want in the film. So if you aren't as literate in the cinematography world, you can use this to really amplify the work that you have, so you can see just how it would act inside the frame. So if you wanted to jib up, jib down, if you wanted to orbit left, orbit right, you get the idea. Truck, tilt, static, everything is here, and it works out really well. And a lot of times, if you are doing this, like dolly in and dolly out are probably the most used ones. So you can see down here, it's got dolly in. And we could do a shot like this, where it starts here, and then we want to end with the mermaid shot. And then I would come down here to the prompt and basically write exactly what I want to have happen. And that's how we do it. Now, up in the top right-hand corner, you've got two other options to choose from. You've got your model that you'll choose from, which, depending on which service you choose, you can go with the VO3 or VO2. So the fast models are for very fast renderings. They're usually lower credits. If you're using the lower base one, this is, I believe, 10 credits still. But if you use VO3 fast, it's still 100 credits. But in this version, because I'm using Ultra, they reduce the credit cost down to just 10, which is really nice. Or you come over here to do quality 3 and quality 2. Although I will say VO3 quality and VO2 quality, or yeah, VO3 quality only works right now on text to video. So you're not really going to get that usage out of it, unfortunately. But you can use the fast version of VO3, which is in some regards better than VO2. But I've had instances where VO2 is better than VO3. It's just going to take some practice back and forth there to make it work for what you want. And then the last one, we have ingredients to video. And ingredients to video, I think, is probably the most powerful tool that Google Flow has. And it's probably the one that you're going to utilize the most, because this is where you can come in and add the assets that you want to show in the scene. And then it's going to generate around there. So much like we did in our fruit juice commercial, we could come in here and add our 3 fruits in there. And those 3 fruits would appear in the way that we wanted to. Or, we could come in here and say, I want this model with this background up in the mountains, and I also want to see it into a claymation kind of form. So we would get all 3 of those together, and then we would basically allow Google Flow to figure out what that's going to look like. And we could say, let's just try this out. A woman in a bathing suit stands on the edge of a mountain top and is transformed into a felt covered world. Cinematic, cinematic, ultra realistic. And these are fun words to use. If you use cinematic and ultra realistic, you're going to get a more contrasty, more punched in kind of look, and it's going to look more film like. You could also say something like handheld, natural, and like whimsical. And I'm terrible at spelling. Thank goodness for spell check. All right. So this is, again, a very basic prompt, but we can go ahead and generate that. It's probably going to give me an error saying it can't do VO3 quality, so we do VO3 fast, and it's probably going to say it can't do VO3 fast, so it'll automatically tell you which one that you want to switch to that works for this type, and it's really just VO2 fast. And then we'll click go. And then what we have here is we're going to be seeing that the prompt is going to be rendering, and it's going to give us a percentage, and that percentage could go up very quickly. It could go very slowly. It really just depends on, 1, your connection to the server, and 2, how fast or how many users are using the service at the moment. I will say late at night, these render in probably just a few seconds, probably anywhere from like 10 to 20 seconds max. And I've seen them take as long as 2 to 3 minutes. And I've had plenty of issues where it fails. So it really comes down to the server load time and how many users are using it. But it's kind of a crapshoot. So it could go really quickly. It could go really slowly. And as you know, as we're standing here, the percentage is going up about 1% every couple seconds, which isn't bad. But you'll see once this actually starts to wrap up that this image will then start to take form, and that's when you know that your image is ready. Now, if we go back to the prompt really quick, on the right-hand side, there's a Settings tab, and the Settings tab, I think, is really important. Hey, look, there you go. And you can choose the outputs that you want as well. I would say keep it at 2 outputs, because that's going to give you 2 options while you're doing it. If you do 4 outputs, you're going to do 4 times the amount of credits. And if you're not on the Ultra plan, you could end up spending about 400 credits for 1 iteration. So be careful with that, because that is a lot of money that comes out. If you only have the Pro plan, basic, and that only comes with basically, I think, 50 video generations, you've just used a very large portion in one sitting. So be careful with that. Just keep it at 2. And again, depending on what user and depending on what subscription level you are, just keep it on VO2 fast for the majority of the time. That way you get the best, fastest quality. And then if you really want to upgrade it, you can then choose the VO3 quality or the VO2 quality. But again, the VO3 quality only comes in the text to prompt area. So we'll check these out. We'll see what we got here. That's interesting. Very, well, we can see that it used all of the ingredients in the shot, and I wasn't very descriptive about what we wanted here, but we've got our talent here in a kind of felt-like world with the background that we wanted or that I used. And in this one, it's creating a mix of like realistic simulation, and then it just decided to go somewhere else. So this one didn't work out too well, but it really just comes around with you tinkering around and figuring out what works well. I will say that you want to make sure that all of the ingredients that you're using or all of the assets that you're using are horizontal in nature, because the vertical assets that I found tend to not work as well, and it forces you to crop into a certain section. So let's say you wanted to animate a photo or show a photo coming to life. It's going to be whatever that crop circle is. So if we come here to upload, and I'm going to choose this fox just as an example, you'll see that in the vertical photo, I only have this area to choose from. So if I wanted the full body of the fox, it wouldn't work. So I'm going to reset this and cancel. I'm going to upload a new one, and then I'll choose the horizontal version of the fox that I have. It'll upload it. And now you can see that it's going to give me the full frame that I want. So I'll do crop and save. It's going to sit there for a second, and then it should add it to the rest of my thing. So I've got that now. I've got the ingredients for that. And then I can come here and change it, you know, add whatever I want. Juice bottles and models. You get the gist. For the most part, though, this is where you can also come in, and if you wanted to, you could come up to the right-hand corner, and you could start using this as your actual timeline for developing a story. So I would click Add to Scene. So if we come back and click on Scene Builder at the top left-hand side, we're going to get the option to then scroll through here, and then if we wanted to, we can click on this frame here, and it's going to give us the option to jump to, which is a cut or a cut to, and then or extend the scene. So we could just come here and click Extend Scene, and then say apple falls from the tree and rolls down the hill. Again, very simple, very straightforward. Then we'll let that go. And I will say, sometimes it hangs on here, and you have to be careful. So what I will do is I will copy and paste this. I'll come back up here. I'll click Extend. I'll paste it again. And then this is going to basically create a cut to, and not a move or extend the scene. It can be an iffy program sometimes, I will say. Flow, when it does work, it works well, and when it doesn't work, it's unfortunate. So we'll sit here and we'll wait for a second to see what happens, and then I'll try to show you how to extend the scene. So in this scene, what we can do is we can play this through, and I actually interjected myself into the scene. But that's not me. But what I did do is I came back through here, and I used my face with the same prompt I had down here, which this was a text to video, and then this is an ingredients to video. And then I was basically able to come in, add myself into the scene on the AI's body, and then animate myself. Now, I then went through and I decided to extend the scene. So if we go back to Scene Builder here, it should bring up all of the scenes that we had connected to this. Yeah. So this was the first scene, and I'll play through this. Hit play. That was the initial scene, and then I added another scene where I'm like, you know what if I add my cat to the scene? And you'll see what happens. So then it comes from here, and then it's like, oh, hey, look, there's my cat. And I added that ingredient. And then I added a bunch of other people. So you can just keep adding upon scenes, upon scenes, upon scenes as it happens. and it can work out really well. Sometimes it doesn't work out really well. But again, that's half the beauty with using AI, is it's really just random. You can only direct it so far. But as you can see down here, I used a much more detailed description than the previous one that we were working on. You know, ultra realistic front view of a middle-aged white man. Hey, that's me. With an athletic build, stubbled beard, clear skin, brown eyes, wearing a black t-shirt, black base hat, and dark jeans. He's standing in the corner of a dark lounge, lighting the bar is orange and teal. Ultra grungy, dramatic, raw looking. The camera slowly moves along the floor and tilts up as he's standoff looking in the distance of the lounge. Yes, that's what we have there. So, not bad. But that's kind of like what you get out of the scene builder. And I will say that you can start creating and linking a bunch of scenes together. So if you don't want to go inside of, or if you don't want to go inside of DaVinci Resolve, you can just come right back here and really just do it manually. And then you can come over here and you can download by clicking download. It'll download and export the entire version of it. Now, that being said, that's pretty much the gist of Google Flow. Now, if you want to learn more about it, the best way to do it is really just to get into Google Flow and start creating. Let your mind go free, really think about the shot that you want, and kind of come up with a fun idea. Hey, look, there's an apple that's rolling up and down the hill. That's not what I wanted, but it looks neat. We just created art, or AI created art, I should say. Here's another one. That's a big apple. Anyway, that's the gist. If you have any questions, though, always feel free to reach out. I'm going to be utilizing these forms on the website to really communicate with you guys. So if you guys have questions or curious about anything, you can always ask me. I will say too that Google Flow does have Google TV. Or Flow TV, I should say. And if you click on Flow TV, it's a really great place where you can get inspiration and you can kind of learn from what other people are using to prompt with. And it gives them the full prompt view, and you can just kind of like scroll through and see what it is. So, you know, the felt cute kind of phase, little panda bears, you know, and these are text to video. So, theoretically speaking, this is unethical to use this kind of stuff because this is drawing information from their artists, but it looks neat, right? But be cautious and be careful when doing it. But it's a great place to get inspiration. It's a great place to really, see what other people are doing and either expand upon what they're doing or take what they're doing and make a new iteration out of it. But there's so much to explore. There's so much to do. And hopefully this gives you a little more ease into the world of AI and really hopefully it expands upon your creativity. But thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.